Hello to all of you curious minds out there. This is your host, Peter, and welcome to the very first episode of the Church of the Deranged Swamp Fairies podcast. You're probably wondering, what is this podcast about, and when do we get to the Deranged Swamp Fairies? Well, don't worry, all will be revealed. First things first, I really hate long podcast intros, so figured I would just dive right into it. You know, I've had numerous attempts at building a social media presence and just always chasing that idea of money. You gotta find a good niche and then find a cross niche before you broaden as you build an audience. And, you know, it was always about creating something that would sell, and it was never successful. So, surprise, surprise. But then it hit me. I wasn't creating anything that I actually enjoyed making or anything that was even remotely authentic or genuine. So here's the thing. I've come to realize that not everything needs to be about the hustle. And I've realized that hustle culture just doesn't work for me. I'm at my best when I'm being unfiltered and talking about the strange and the mystical, spirituality, paranormal, aliens, demons, and our likely flawed perception of reality. My take on spirituality, metaphysicality, whatever, doesn't really fit into a box. And so I thought, why not share my views with the world? Why not scream into the void and see if anyone listens? So this podcast is my platform to discuss and delve into all that. What does it mean to be human? What's really out there? Type of stuff. And I always think, like, if we had to define ourselves using spiritual archetypes, I'd probably be a trickster. A fan of chaos and whimsy, but without generally being too much of a dick at any one time. Sort of like the Phoebe... I gotta hate myself for saying this. Sort of like the Phoebe buffet of the universe. I feel like that has some huge, like, I'm not like normal girls vibes. You know how, like, every other Tinder profile is like, I'm kind of like Zooey Deschanel, and Ariana Grande. But that's beside the point. So the aim of the Church of the Deranged Swamp Fairies podcast is to embrace the dark and the strange. So this isn't your typical love and light spirituality podcast, but the goal is not to be like maximum edgelord either. Here we embrace chaos and whimsy, and with the goal of just not being a dick just for the sake of being a dick, but not shying away from the darkness either. You know, like, when we read about demons, are demons just neutral spirits that were covered with a filter of Christianity and now everything is evil? Or maybe demons really are all bad. I don't know. Maybe we'll explore this. So I'll explore this. So if I get, like, summoned to the underworld, you don't have to. It'll be great. So if you've stumbled on this podcast and feel even a twinge of curiosity, you might be like me. You might be a lost misfit who has never found that sense of belonging that Instagram makes us crave, you know? Let alone the fact that, like, everyone is pretty, like, equally miserable nowadays. So I feel like everyone's kind of a lost misfit, but, you know, our topics will vary from week to week. I got a loose script, y'all. I don't really work well with scripts because I just diverge, like, all the time. But it helps keep me on track. Otherwise, we'd be, like, in the fifth dimension right now. Our topics will vary from week to week. We might discuss tulpas, aka thought forms made real, which I'm really interested in, actually, one week, and then jump to the intersection of aliens and the occult the next. Or delve into remote viewing or CE5. We might delve into demonology. We might talk about fairies. I'm not an expert in anyone's spiritual or occult practice in the traditional sense. I believe in understanding and honoring the origins of spiritual practices, but also in taking what serves us individually and leaving the rest, and feeling absolutely unbothered doing so. Think of it like spiritual bardism. Just kidding. That's like the grossest, most pretentious thing I could ever say. D&D references aside, at the end of the day, all I can promise is be true to myself as we explore the cosmic and unknown together. I've learned the hard way that being disingenuous and doing things just for the money, like all those, like one, like my cringy stint in erotic ASMR, it just isn't fulfilling, and it tends to invite the cosmic 2x4, which my mom calls it the cosmic clue by 4, because it's like, you know, the universe is giving you clues, you're kind of ignoring it, and so then, wham! The 2x4 right across the face, you know. And then if you ignore it again, then you get like multiple 2x4s, and then it's just a party, and that's not a party you want to go to. So, welcome to the Church of the Deranged Swamp Fairies Podcast. Let's dive into the chaotic, the whimsical, the spiritual, and the strange together. I'm going to be posting like every 2 weeks to start, and then I'll probably ramp up to once per week if anyone ever actually starts listening to this. So, to recap, you know, generally pretty chaotic and scattered. But I'll be talking about like one or two specific topics per week, probably rambling about it. And, you know, grew up acid true. Now I'm like, I don't know, agnostic, pagan, occultist. I don't know, just... You know, you just gotta take what works and leave the rest, man. But we'll just talk about that. Alright, so if you want to enjoy, explore... God, this is cringy. If you want to explore the boundaries of reality with me, make sure to subscribe so you won't miss an episode. So, yeah. Consider sharing this podcast with someone else who's absolutely off their rocker, too. Your support honestly does mean the world to me.